Oh my God, we've been waiting like 30 minutes. I'm so ready to record. I have to use the bathroom.
I think even the Blue's given up.
Yeah. Blue, where's
Bobby?
Ladies, get in. We have to do something.
Why is there a car in your...
Is there a car show?
Why is there a car in the studio?
No, I stole this from Robert Zemeckis. We're going back in time. Hop in.
What are we going back in time for?
To kill Hitler.
I mean, there's the SS.
He's got like armed guards and crap like that.
I ain't about that life.
I got a samurai sword.
No. We're doing it when he's a baby.
Oh, good idea.
I'm gonna fucking throttle him.
I don't know if I can kill a baby, but let's try.
Okay.
Oh, I'm getting over a cold, so I'm gonna preface that in the
okay.
podcast. Like, I'm dying. No, I'm not dying. I'm better. I can breathe.
Oh, the feline leukemia is really overtaking him.
Well, welcome to the free rotation. Bobby's near death.
Sorry, I got a cold. I'm getting better though. I can breathe, but I'm gonna be hacking and coughing like I've got stage 5 cancer.
And here we're here with Becky.
It's funny because Issa just moved off of my notes, so now I have 2 sets of notes and I'm holding them in both hands, so I'm getting both sides.
She's gonna knock down them boxes
she's
though.
double fisting Hitler.
Yeah. Christ.
He deserves it though.
It's true.
Yeah, and I'm Angie. And I think I've introduced the podcast, but if not, this is free rotation. Today we're going to be talking about Hitler and the occult.
But before we start,
Yes.
Angie, you want to
we
give a
will.
warning?
Yes. I'd like to preface this by saying that we are in no way experts. We're just a group of friends talking about something that interests us. So one of us might have an idea and be like, hey, I want to talk about this.
Yes.
Like, Becky might want to talk about ass fishers next week.
I mean, I could, but I really don't because I don't really...
But if she did, we would accommodate her.
Well, and it's important to know we've been doing this for almost over 90 episodes now. Oh, God, we've been doing this for a while.
I think this is the 91st, yeah.
Yeah, and the whole point of this podcast has always been we're a bunch of friends talking about different topics that we're interested in.
So when you listen, you feel like you're just having a talk with your friends.
Yes.
This isn't serious. Don't quote us.
We're not experts. If we did a podcast on us being experts, all I would talk about is the Georgia Juvenile Code. Angie would talk about spreadsheets and finances, and Bobby would talk about hair products.
Yes.
And we would all talk about the Falcons.
That's about it.
That's pretty much it.
So when you listen to this podcast...
But we have a lot of interests.
And one of them is Hitler and the occult, funny enough. Okay, Angie, you want to talk about this now?
Well, I brought the recording equipment with us back in time.
No.
Yeah, we couldn't kill a baby, so we're here in 1909.
Y'all wouldn't let me kill the baby.
No, Bobby, it's a baby. He's
Why are you
adorable.
wearing lederhosen?
Because it's accurate for the time, and it really supports my crotch.
I gotcha. Okay.
Glugen Dargen.
Meanwhile, me and Angie brought our Starbucks back, so we're ready to go.
Yes.
They had Starbucks in that Game of Thrones episode, so it's totally time accurate.
That's right. We're
right.
time accurate.
That's
Let's
right.
go.
Witchcraft. No.
Nope, just a delicious
This
latte.
existed back in the
No,
Age of
they
Dragons.
even then they fucking needed coffee before they got up in the morning.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. Well, so we're here in 1909, where a very young Hitler, in August, stopped by the Vienna office of Austrian occultist Georg Langs von Liebenfels and asked for a copy of the Ostara, which, that's an interesting name, isn't it?
Yes.
A periodical devoted to the propagation of the esoteric doctrine known as Eris-Sophi, a prophesied resurgence of a lost Aryan civilization peopled by Nordic godmen.
Wow. Okay, so that was a lot of words.
But you can really see here what defined what Hitler grew up to identify with.
So this doctor is essentially white power with magic tossed
It
into
really
it.
is. And it uses a religion to base a doctrine on. So these godmen founded this Aryan nation that used to be incredibly powerful. And there is going to be a resurgence of it and take over the world. But the people who are worthy are the ones who prepared the way. We see this repeatedly in multiple religions.
I was about to say, is this why you told me to, when I start to read this, if the Tuatha De Danann look very familiar, it's going to be sounding kind of
Very familiar.
similar to what we're talking about
Yes.
today.
And when you look at the white supremacists of today, they follow Eris-Sophi. Usually, if you go to their bases, when they say they're based in religion, this is their religion.
Yeah, while they're fucking huffing their glue.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, though, okay, we are no way condoning white power, Aryan, anything like that. This is a historical context of some of the stuff we've talked about before. However, we are going to make fun of white supremacists. That's going to be a whole thing. So my joke was going to be, I don't think any of them know how to spell any of these words you just said out loud.
Oh, probably not.
No.
And it's important to note here that Georg Lanz von Liebenfels, this is what he said. He said Hitler came into his shop in August of 1909 and picked up his copy of Ostara, which, how he got the exact date right, I don't know, but he did say he's the one who introduced Hitler to Aristotle.
That's interesting.
And what's interesting about Germany at the time is that Hitler wasn't the only youth looking for something. Due to their political climate and stuff and their loss in World War I, they were looking for something to hang on to, so they turned to the supernatural.
Well, it's interesting because if you think about it, when you're a teenager, I mean, we've all probably gone through it. When you're trying to find your identity in things, you go through a lot of different identity crises. I thought I was going to be a goth for the rest of my life.
I ate a lot of ass.
You still do that.
Well, I found something I liked. What's wrong with that?
He found his identity. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know.
You thought you were straight.
It's true.
Yeah. Until you met some pussy.
So she saw this ass in these Levi's.
I just almost spit out my water.
But my point being is that at the same time, you got to kind of think that Hitler was going through everything else that other teenagers go through.
Right. Looking for somewhere he fit in because remember, Hitler had a poet soul. He was constantly searching. He was a writer. He was a painter. Failed.
Yeah.
At both. So he's looking for something he fits in and where he belongs. And usually it's the outcast of society that finds something and they cling on to it.
Yeah.
And they can take it to extremes.
Oh, yeah.
And we see that still repeatedly.
Oh, yeah.
Look
100%.
at the red pill movement and incels and all that
exactly.
shit too. Yeah, it's all that angst and everything.
It's like the mind speak or all that information when you get a hive mind. When you get into a hive mind like that.
Well, and I'm not trying to make Hitler somebody you can feel compassion for, but I do want to correlate when people in today's society say that some current political parties are mimicking Hitler and the Nazi movement. I want to show why people say that, because there's a lot of ignorance surrounding it, like, he's not out killing people and throwing people and this, that, and the other. That's beside the point.
Right.
The point is how Germany got to this place.
Yeah. It wasn't like it happened overnight.
Because the thing is, Hitler wasn't atypical. Millions of Germans and Austrians coming of age during the first decades shared a broader supernatural imagery with occult and border scientific doctrines. Nordic mythology and Germanic folklore, pagan New Age, and Volkic religions. Think of like Viking.
Right.
A dizzying array of occult associations, esoteric institutes, and new religious sects sprung up to satisfy Georgians.
Close enough.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
The Crusaders came and,
Damn it, it's Crusaders.
And they had a demand for a science of the soul. Those who could not afford to take classes or subscribe to esoteric journals flocked by the thousands to tarot readers, clairvoyants, and astrologers who lined the streets of Berlin, Munich, and Vienna.
But this was not atypical for that time either, even in the United States, because that's when the Ouija became popular. The idea of the paranormal and supernatural, like the end of the 19th century, going into the 20th century, astrology and all of that was still very popular.
Right, and of course Germans took it to an extreme. Like, even to the extent that these trends accelerated after the devastating defeat in the First World War. So, for example, there was like a Weimar Republic steamship company dismissed its managing director because his handwriting had displeased a graphologist.
That's very specific.
Motorists avoided a road between Hamburg and Bremen due to rumors about mysterious terrestrial rays which caused accidents. A miracle worker who had the faculty of making the dead Bismarck appear during his mass meetings and who healed sickness by application of white cheese called the German journalist...
Wait, what was that sentence? I'm confused. What? Can you please repeat that?
He had the faculty of making the dead Bismarck appear... Oh, you mean the other one?
Yes.
Where he healed sickness by application of white cheese?
I mean...
I like cheese.
I like cheese too, but I don't think it would heal me.
It depends.
It depends. It's true. Keto.
No, this guy here... called somebody else a crackpot. He recalled a German journalist, Konrad Hayden, had enough followers to establish a city. Another crackpot was almost elected to the Reichstag, and still a third, who also barely missed election, promised to perform the greatest miracle of all by undoing the German inflation.
Okay.
And of course, many were firmly convinced that the course of world history was the sinister result of the administrations of ancient secret societies, such as those of the Masons, the Jews, and the Jesuits.
So we're the whole precipice or the preface of why we hate Jewish people during this time, or not. We don't hate them. Germans hated them. Or the Nazis hated them. Let me get to that.
Nazis.
Let me be more specific. Is because of some supernatural stuff happening at this point?
Some supernatural bullshit, yep.
Damn.
Well, and just made up stuff. Like, lived in a time where people could just say anything and base it on some random thing.
To be fair, we still live in that.
Exactly. And this is the correlation. Somebody can say anything and people will run with it.
Yeah.
Oh, look at her handwriting, though. She's a witch.
To be fair,
She's obviously a leftist liberal.
I mean, let's also point out that my brother did buy me a light that has a witch on it, so...
Which was
yeah.
adorable.
I thought it was really sweet.
Yeah, your brother's a good people.
So we just want to establish that Germany at this time was like the hillbilly Christians, but with the occult.
Yeah.
Ding,
That
ding,
was
ding, 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 ding,
Ding, ding, ding, ding, ding, ding, ding. But it's kind of terrifying because it's once again a lack of information. There's nothing wrong with the occult, in my opinion, but it's when you establish that you need no foundation for any scientific fact or information. I don't know why I'm coughing. That's us now.
Yeah.
You know, that's when these...
It took you a really long time to do that joke.
ding.
Like, I honestly thought
I
you were
actually
coughing.
started coughing a little bit. I really couldn't stop. But, you know, even Bobby's still helping with the joke. But the extremists, that's how the extremists gain power. I mean, let's look at flat earthers. They literally call it, look around the globe, and it's, you know, a globe.
A globe.
What are you
By
talking
definition.
about? But you get any of this information out there that has no scientific foundation, this is what happens.
Yeah.
It's a whole thingamajig. But yeah, let's want to talk about some present day depictions of Hitler and the occult.
Well, yes, because there's a lot of, Yep, so taking into account what we know here about the time period Hitler was coming up in, and what he continued on it and expounded upon, there's been a lot of modern day depictions of this.
And yeah, we're not going to go into the whole, like, what happened in World War II, because if you've taken a history class, you know what happened in World War II.
In World War II. But there's an interesting thing in Captain America. Like, his whole origin story has to deal with the Nazis.
Want to tell us about it?
Well, why don't we have Bobby tell us about it?
Yeah, it opens with a Red Skull stealing a Tesseract. What do we know about this? Hydra wants Captain America, the super soldier. He wants because it gives him power. He's the Aryan.
Mm-hmm.
He's the typical. He's what every Nazi youth aspires to be, like big, swole, big dick energy.
And that's what they were trying to create in
Right.
Nazi Germany at the time.
Yeah.
So Hydra is the Nazis.
Yep.
They literally have an SS officer, which I can't remember what Hydra initials give to it. Like, the leader of Hydra is basically Himmler. And then they have a scientist who defects or gets captured by the U.S., defects and explains everything they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And then we also have, it's also Nazi in the cult's also referencing Caffel and the Crusaders, Castle, Wolfenstein, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Hellboy, Lost in the Snow. It's just all Nazis and the supernatural with Hitler, obviously, mixed in.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned those three, because as we go through, we're going to reference back to these and show how each of these things are based on true real life events.
Based on a true story.
But back to Hitler and the occult, there was some wondering of, was Hitler possessed? Like, there's some people who legitimately, even today, wonder about it. Hitler's mentor, Dietrich Eckart, to whom Hitler, by the way, dedicated Mein Kampf, wrote to a friend of his in 1923, "Follow Hitler, he will dance, but it is I who have called the tune. We have given him the means of communication with them," and he capitalized them.
Yeah.
Like all caps or just...
Capitalized the T in them as though them is something else.
Like a possessive pronoun.
Mm-hmm. "Do not mourn for me, I shall have influenced history more than any other German."
Oh, shit.
And the thing that we see a lot is like this Faustian figure who is lured to this side, stuck out there, Darth Vader, Darth Maul, by, Emperor Palpatine. They're the ones stuck out there to be this figurehead of evil while being influenced by evil, but not really it.
Yeah.
to me, it's just one more instance in his life where he wasn't really anything but what somebody else made him be.
Interesting. Okay.
Anyways. And then August Kubizek, one of Hitler's closest friends since childhood, claims that Hitler, 17 years old at the time, once spoke to him of returning Germany to its former glory. And of this comment, August said, "It was as if another being spoke out of his body and moved him as much as it did me." Now, while they're saying these things, putting Hitler to that Aryan God level, a lot of people reading this are like, wait a minute. Is this demonic possession? Was he influenced by evil? And I want you to keep in mind that during Hitler's rise to power, do you know who his biggest supporter was the entire term? Who fought against people going into World War II and fighting Hitler? The Catholic Church.
Yeah.
The Pope was 100% behind Hitler.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yes.
they totally were down for the Holocaust and everything. They're like the Jews.
Oh,
Yes.
well, in context of it, yeah, it makes a lot of sense because Catholics and Jews don't really get along
they're
in the
the
first
exact
place.
opposite.
Which
Yeah.
I've never understood because Jesus was a Jew. I'm like, what the fuck y'all doing? Y'all
Well, I
weird.
think what is it that the Jews believe that Jesus was not the Messiah,
Right.
Correct.
and that he has not appeared? Question mark.
exactly.
I am
that
not.
Jesus hasn't returned yet.
Okay, I'm not very religious, so I'm not sure.
So
I'll
then
ask my menorah over here.
Oh,
if that thing answered you back, hey girl.
it's like an 8-ball that you shake.
Flames go everywhere.
Yeah, it's like ask again later.
Your house is on fire.
God damn it.
So, remember how we referenced Castle Wolfenstein?
Yes.
Where there really was a castle. It was a castle Woolsburg. I feel like that's Blue trying to talk.
Woolsburg.
Castle of
Wolfsburg.
W.
Sound familiar?
It does.
A little bit.
This one was mostly this project was headed by Heinrich Himmler. Because, remember, I recently, just said, Hitler was basically the product of these powerful people behind him. Well, Heinrich Himmler took Hitler's ideas and thoughts, and he had multiplying by 1,000, and that was Heinrich.
Mm-hmm.
He was like your true push for the occult. And he was a sadist, but Hitler really sincerely wanted to kill every Jew.
Yeah.
Heinrich Himmler believed you had to do it to bring the resurgence of the Aryan nation back, but his focus was on bringing that back.
Yeah.
And he felt that Castle Wilsburg was like the place to be the center of the world. One reason he believed this was it was 30 miles from the castle is the Externstein, which is the winter solstice temple.
Oh.
Also on this solstice temple is a relief of an Irminsul. Anybody know what that means?
Mighty Pillar in Old Saxon.
Is it named after the Germanic god of Ermin?
Why, it is.
Wait, does it come because that's like the national god of the Saxons?
Why, yes, it is.
And aren't Saxons white people?
Yes,
I
they're
figured it out.
Vikings. They're the Aryan Nordic godmen.
Ah!
Ba-bum.
Okay. Anyways, I got those off the
And
notes, by the way.
one school of thought is that the Irminsuls were the true pillars of Hercules, and that their presence in the region's forests, fields, and churches suggests that Atlantis was in the north. So a lot of ties are between the city of Atlantis being this lost Aryan godman state.
Interesting.
So what you're saying is Michael J. Fox is a Nazi.
He's
Wait,
a
what?
Nazi.
Because he would voice the main character in Atlantis Lost Empire, the Disney animated
Oh, there
feature.
we go. We're coming circles.
Wow, sometimes I reach.
That's
really reaching.
Yeah, I did that with with an extended pole. It was
That
like,
was literally like the
read.
fisherman from that commercial. That's like, you gotta be quicker than that. That's what that was.
Mm-hmm. So Irminsuls were important to the Nazis because they linked the region to Germany's ancient religion, the Ermin belief. Ermin comes from the word Irminsul, and he was thought to have been the national god of the Saxons. The Ermin belief included some pretty strange concepts, y'all, including the notion that Germany's heritage reached back to 228,000 BCE, a time when the Earth had 3 suns and was inhabited by giants, dwarfs, and other mythical creatures.
I'm starting to see a J.R.R. Tolkien feel to this as well as we're talking.
Yes, and this is a true belief still to this day, and I want to note that this would be back in the time when Tiamat was its separate planet before it crashed into Earth
Oh God, here we go.
and destroyed the species that lived here. This is dating back to that time. Tiamat was one of the sons of the old Earth. No, I mean,
I'm on your
all
side.
these things
Becky's
circle-
just giving.
Becky is just.
My eyes
I'm not-
are rolled all the way in the back
I'm
of my
not
head.
pushing a belief in these things. I would like to show how all religions take a piece of a puzzle, and they separate it, and they cover themselves with glue, and so no other puzzle piece can fit in.
Right.
And maybe if they ever sat down and linked their religions together, we might actually have a good idea.
Well, that's what pagans
Of who
try to
and what
do.
we are.
That's why they, a pagan belief for a lot of things is that follow your own path because it leads back to the same place regardless of which way you take it.
Yeah, but I think we got to follow everybody's path.
Well, but it's hard for you to follow everybody's path when you're just one person.
When they won't let you.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Can I follow the path to the booty?
Yes, Bobby.
Ah,
Yes.
but it is funny, hearing stuff like this because it kind of reminds me of is Stardew Valley because we find those dwarven artifacts and stuff from an ancient time in Stardew Valley.
Yes. Oh,
Isn't that weird?
it's an Irminsul.
And in
that weird?
Skyrim as well.
Oh yeah, that's true. But it kind of makes a lot of sense too. I mean, okay, I know we're going off on a tangent a little bit, but think about Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings actually does take place after our world exists.
After our world ends.
So it's not.
And these mythical creatures rise back up.
Right.
And we have found bone structures of giants.
Yes.
I mean, immense human beings. And, you could make an argument that, what's her name? Lucy, the first human woman they found, she's kind of dwarf-like in stature.
And you also think about it for other species of animals. They link a lot of dinosaurs to birds. Think about how big dinosaurs were.
Right.
And now most birds are very tiny in comparison. I don't know if it's just an evolutionary thing, but it's quite possible.
We could legit be, since we were knocked out of our orbit, picked up some stuff that we evolved and maybe.
And pterodactyls could have been mistaken back in the day. They somehow survived for dragons and stuff. The whole thing.
True.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, even Chinese belief still has that dragons do exist.
You would bring up the Chinese, wouldn't you? Because my mom's Chinese. You're racist.
Oh, Becky.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
We are not part of the Aryan nation.
It is interesting, though, that you mentioned the Chinese because one of the things the Germans did while Hitler was in power, even fighting during World War II, was they believed that the answers lay in Asian cities. So they would send out these hunts to collect all the artifacts and ancient stuff they could steal.
Yeah.
Not buy or borrow, but steal. They
Well,
went on
that's
raids.
most cultures to begin with.
Well, they were very out and about with it. They had a whole, Indiana Jones Society about it.
Yeah.
So remember how they sent them out to steal the Lost Ark? There were literally these Nazi missions that did that. So see what I mean? Full circle in here. But we'll get more into that.
You mean flotation?
Yes, we're flotationing here.
Oh my god.
It's similar to a flotation device, except you're bouncing and shit.
Yeah, you gotta stop moving that because it keeps hitting.
Well, I gotta. Okay.
Okay.
So remember we mentioned Castle Wolfenstein. Have any of y'all played it? Castle Wolfenstein?
I have. I played the
haven't.
old one, not the newer ones.
So you remember you're going through this supernatural castle and you're fighting all this crazy stuff and it's got a crazy build and there's occult symbols on the wall. Well, that's Castle Wolfenstein when Himmler was building it. So Hitler, like I said, never visited the castle, but Himmler was tasked with building it as the center of the New World Order when the Third Reich won the war, and also to teach the SS about prophecy, magical power, and world domination. They were basically the same three things.
Yeah.
But this was where Himmler trained the SS, and we had this idea of SS being these sadistic killers, but they were more. I don't want to say worse, but they were more.
Yeah.
He was literally teaching them magic.
Yeah, they going on a tangent, SS people. They were in the beginning of their training. They were given a dog or a cat or an animal of some such, and they they would bond to it and everything. And at the end, to graduate or whatever, they had to kill it.
I saw that in Kingsman, but
because they had to
I would have
not
failed.
be able to feel that compassion because world domination and the purpose was the true point. So, the castle was planned to be the center of the world. So he gave it a triangular structure with 3 round towers connected by massive walls, and one tower stood out way bigger than the rest, and it pointed towards Asia, because the Nazis believed that Asia was where the true world war would be fought, that they were eventually going to rise up to take over the world. So this castle was to serve as a buffer between the rest of the world and Asia, and Hitler was desperate to gain power and establish his rule so he could stand against the Asians.
Yeah.
I mean, we all think that his real enemy was the Jews, but in actuality, he wanted to stamp the Jews out so he could stand against the Asian people, which is something that I didn't know until I was doing this research. That was the real point of this.
Bananas.
And he knew he was on a very short thing because there was a guy who followed Hitler who had told him he would be victorious and had told him a whole bunch of crap, but had said to him, you're eventually going to have to face the Asian people when they come to take over the world. And they won't do it for the good. They're doing it for a darker power.
What? Yeah, hentai.
Well, I think I'd prefer a tentacle at my ass than a pizza oven. I'm just going to put that out there.
Both are pleasurable.
That
if you
out
think
of
about
context
it.
is like literally the funny, like one of the things that I'm going to always think. I would prefer a tentacle up my ass than a pizza oven.
Yeah.
That should be our tagline.
Yeah. Where we prefer pizzas up the ass. Actually, I'd prefer that. Can we just combine it?
How about this? The tentacle shoves a pizza up your butt.
Sweet.
You'd be like your own
Reverse eating.
Exactly.
Ew.
You be your own calzone.
I'm my own cow.
What else happened?
Okay. So, the death head rings that the SS officers were given, well, they were stored in a secret vault. And here's the most interesting thing. When an SS officer died, they went to great efforts to get the ring back and store it in these vaults because these rings were embodied with power. The death head rings. And Heinrich believed he was the reincarnation of the founder and first king of the German state, Heinrich I, and he wanted to be interred in the wall as well. Now, we know this didn't happen.
Right.
Because the U.S. invaded and they had to flee it.
Fuck yeah.
Himmler wanted to reestablish the Knights of the Round Table, and he appointed 12 SS officers as his followers who performed unknown rites. The SS had 12 main departments and 12 leaders. The North Tower has 12 pedestals in the vault, 12 pillars and niches, and 12 spokes of the sun wheel, because the sun was the most visible expression of God, and 12 is the number of completion.
Oh my.
He was very, very religious. He believed in God. He believed in Christianity. He just believed in more.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that he truly believed so much in the Knights of the Round Trailer.
The Round Trailer?
The Round Trailer.
Oh my god, that would be the best YouTube series where it's
Knights of the Round Trailer.
where it's actually just a bunch of rednecks in a trailer.
Jesus Christ, that'd be great.
I apparently have gotten my notes out of order.
Do you need this page?
No, I don't know how I went right
It's
into UFOs.
It's the artifact one was next, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, you're on the right page, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. I just started off with a sentence. It's almost like I started typing a research paper in my wording through this thing. You've noticed that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, though.
Some them $5 woods.
Yeah. But according to the writer J. von Helsing, Helsing was a real person, there was a recovered unknown flying object that crashed into Schwarzwald, the Black Forest, near Freiburg in 1936 and was taken to the Welsburg Castle, where a reverse engineering project was launched, reportedly leading to the construction of several very advanced flying machines towards the end of World War II. To the point that there were generals who, when they came across a lot of the German research, said if this war had went on even another 2 months, Hitler would have overwhelmed them with his technology.
No.
He already had these saucers in the air flying, and he reverse engineered them from a UFO. Don't know where it came from. It wasn't ours.
Well, and the Black Forest is considered one of the most haunted places in
Right.
the world.
And a lot of UFO and extraterrestrial sightings are there.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's visit.
That would actually be kind of cool.
This is interesting to me because how can you know this happened and see these reports from these Germans and U.S. and I think it was the U.K. officers that had said that and still not believe that there's some shit flying around that shouldn't be there.
Here's the answer. We time traveled too far back, or we too little too back. We left our DeLorean there. Hitler got our stuff.
Oh.
Fuck.
Wow.
It's all time travelers, not aliens.
It all.
Maybe it could be.
That's what
Becky.
I have been saying for a long time. Sometimes I think what we think are aliens, quote unquote, are just time travelers.
This subject, by the way, is often featured in popular culture and science fiction. The History Channel even did its Ancient Alien featuring the Freiburg disc crash in their episode Alien and the Third Reich, which if you wanted to go watch it is season 2, episode 5.
Okay.
So it even more details this. Okay. So artifacts and obsessions.
Okay.
Now this is where it gets really interesting / weird.
Well, you never told us what happened to the castle.
Oh, I apologize. When the war was lost and they knew it was over, Hitler committed suicide with his chicky poo. Himmler set fire to the inside of the castle. He also detonated tank mines and explosive because the U.S. Army was only 3 days away. And they had just discovered the concentration camps and realized what Hitler was doing. So it was like they were surged with like this
anger.
The power of vengeance. And you couldn't stop him. No matter what he did, to me, you can't stop people who are imbued with that righteousness.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying righteousness like a God wrath, but I'm just saying like the wrath that comes from seeing something so horrendous.
A humanitarian wrath.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we see it every day.
And they marched night and day. The U.S. Army at this point, and they had like French and UK soldiers with them. They didn't stop marching. They were so determined to free everyone.
So I guess when the castle was all this was detonated, they were never able to recover a lot of the technology.
No, the technology was gone. Castle is still there. Because he built it so well, he couldn't destroy his castle, even with these tank mines. But he did pretty much destroy everything inside, except the sun star, which people call the swastika.
Yeah.
But it's actually an ancient pagan sun symbol. Right. And like we said, it's a symbol of power. The sun is a visible expression of what's the most powerful thing in our universe. Mm-hmm. And he also had mirroring sun and moon. So those were really, in that chamber, the only thing left.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious.
So what was that castle created for? What were they holding there? Well, they had an obsession with artifacts. Things that Hitler was looking for, very specific things. Oh, you just reading it?
The Spear of Destiny for real?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
You mean an Irish artifact that has been talked about in Celtic folklore for thousands of years?
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
So 1933 was a formative year in the Nazi occult agenda. Hitler was ruler, and many firmly believed his ascension was due to his quest to obtain the Spear of Destiny. The lance used to pierce the side of Christ, in case anybody doesn't know what that is, and it was used as a talisman by numerous conquerors. Here's the thing, Spear of Destiny existed way before it stabbed Christ.
It wasn't, it was considered, the Spear of Destiny was considered one of the, like, religious artifacts of Christianity, but it was established as a weapon that anybody who was going to be a true king could wield and could pierce and kill anybody.
The Spear of Destiny is one of 3 components of the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
So everybody thinks Holy Grail is a chalice, which maybe that is one of the components.
Right.
But the Holy Grail is 3.
Do you know how it goes together? You hold the spear, and then you shove the Grail up your butt.
Oh.
To collect your booty juices, and then you offer it to Satan, and then he makes you drink it.
Bobby, we have established you enjoyed anal when you were in high school, and that was your identity.
Okay.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Just assume my gender.
Becky, we try to keep this podcast as untriggering as possible.
Why am I always the one that gets
back to Hitler and the occult.
Speaking of Hitler and the occult.
Speaking of spears going up the butt.
Oh, cool.
Daddy.
But interesting note, and this is what I think Christians should focus on more, but God forbid they give credence to a pagan object. But the Spear of Destiny was chosen to kill you. It is what killed Christ on the cross. Because he had lived, a long
3
time.
days?
No, it was 24 hours.
Oh.
But he had lived on the cross way past the time, because remember, they're literally hanging from tendons in their wrists.
Right.
And their feet are nailed through. It's awful. It's a horrible way.
It never really put in perspective how horrible it was until I watched Good Omens, and they're standing there watching him, and there he's just like screaming. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. No, what did he do? He told them to be kind to each other. Oh shit.
That was a mistake.
Yeah. But, so the Spear of Destiny, they felt had to be used to kill Christ. Also, if you think about it, it's also a kingmaker.
Yes.
The fact that it touched him determined he was a king.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether he was a god in life or Jesus' son or if he was just human, he's now a king.
Yeah.
So you made him exactly what you tried to kill out of him.
I wish he was a queen instead.
Yes.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to go with. Thank God.
So I guess Hitler kind of realized that he needed the Spear of Destiny to make himself king. He just needed to go
make himself the king, the fisherman king. He wanted to be the fisherman king. So 1933 was also the year in which the Nazis initiated the systematic plundering of the world's most sacred artifacts. Loved how I spelled artifacts right there.
Very fancy.
Yeah. Official government departments were established for the sole purpose of acquiring treasures from all corners of the globe. Increasingly, the focus turned to looting Jewish art, and from the most elite families of Europe, such as the Rothschilds. Some of these objects were earmarked for Hitler's never-realized Fuhrer Museum. Some objects went to other high-ranking officials, such as the Hermann Göring, while the other objects were traded to fund Nazi activities. By the end of the war, the Third Reich had amassed hundreds of thousands of cultural objects from around the world.
So they were culturally appropriating.
Right.
Yeah, like every other...
Like legitimately.
That was literally what they were doing.
No. And because he was looking for stuff. Isn't it interesting that he really focused on Jewish artifacts? Because the Jews have the lost the Ark.
Yeah.
Yep.
He needed to find the Ark of the Covenant because one piece of the Grail, the Spirit of Destiny, is purported to be in there. They say that the Masons know where it is. The Jesuits protect it.
Don't look at it when they open it though.
Nope.
Your face will melt off.
Your face is gonna melt off, Indiana.
So, what was the point of all this? Because Hitler wanted to become a Fisher King, and he saw himself on par with the Messiah. He felt he was Jesus' equal. He was Muhammad's equal. He was even better than all of these people.
You're not an equal when you get that shitty fucking mustache,
That's
asshole.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Shave that shit off.
Right.
Clean cut, man.
So, his fall really was hubris. When you
Yes.
think about the rise of the hero or anti-hero, I'm not saying Hitler's a hero. I'm just saying his story does follow a hero's journey arc.
Yeah.
He reached a hubris moment and he fell. He never recovered. The true heroes rose up.
Yeah. And the problem is everybody is the hero of their own story. So
Right.
in his head, he is
He
the hero.
is a hero. And he's beyond a hero. He's a messiah.
No, he's just a fucking asshole.
Yes. He's a douchebag. Who
Can I fuck him in the asshole?
I knew you were going to
he
make the joke.
He found purpose in religion. He twisted it.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yep.
I'm sorry I keep making sexual jokes, Angie.
No, it's fine.
I was just
I
making
said,
sure.
I
I
don't
already
mind at all.
prefaced this that we're
Yeah.
going to make fun of the shit of these
Okay,
people.
just
and all
making
this
sure.
stuff, so.
One of my favorite things is Hitler and Satan in South Park. My favorite thing. And Saddam.
Yep.
I love it. Love it. Anyways.
The
he
true
wanted,
love triangle.
Yes. He wanted to find the Grail Hollows. The legend of the Four Hollows comes through Ireland and the Tuatha De Danann. Or De Danann, but I say De Danann.
Well, we're Southern, so we say Dadan.
the Tuatha De Danann.
We got to eat those pecans.
We know a Dan.
We do know a Dan. He's a,
Yeah.
aw,
And
he's
he's-
a little fairy.
And he's Asian.
Oh, he's Hitler's arch nemesis.
Dan
Dan.
was the hero we needed and never got.
Where are you,
He was
Dan?
born too late.
Oh, he's at work.
Oh.
The Tuatha were said to come from north of Ireland, which some say is Norway, and the original full Hyperborea, this is Aristophane, that is exactly what it's called, is what motivated young Hitler. I don't want to stray into the Tuatha too much, but these folks are the root of the occult beliefs of Hitler and his party.
And we did an entire episode on them. You can check it out on one of our backlogs because I did a whole Celtic mythology episode and we talked about them. So feel free to check that episode out.
But if you go to the current Aryan nation and the white supremacists, they will tell you their doctrine is the full Hyperborea. That just means white people should rule the world.
Yeah.
And that's Aristophane. Ariosophy.
Honkies are gonna take over. Yeah.
But the four cities where the Tuatha came from were Phalius, Gorius, Findius, and Murius. And the roots of these are Phal, Gor, Find, and Mur. From these cities, the four gallows were brought. Morius has the cauldron, which is probably the Grail, like what we
Yeah.
think of the Grail.
Because what it would do is that if it would always be plentifully full. You would never
Right.
starve or
Mm-mm.
die of dehydration.
And it was said to give immortality.
It would, yes.
Phalius, the Stone of Destiny, was brought by the Morrigan, who's a battle maiden, and who we know is weird. And I know. So when you hear, this is where the people being called weirds came from.
Yeah,
You're
like
weird.
the weird. She was a weird sister.
Mm-hmm. This is the stone on which the rightful kings were crowned, and it's the stone of origin. Remember King Arthur pulling Excalibur?
Yep.
Now, it's interesting that Phalius has been found.
Yes,
We know exactly where this stone is.
and it's located in Ireland.
Mhm.
So
And what's interesting, Bobby, is when a true king steps on the stone, it sings.
it does. It will cry out, and it can be heard across the country.
Yeah.
Can it sing?
And it still does it. Like,
Yeah.
it still will do it.
Can it sing "I Want to Dance with Somebody" by Whitney
I
Houston?
want to dance with somebody. That would actually
Oh.
be the
I wanna
best.
feel the
Like
heat
you could set a
of
Spotify for
somebody.
the like Stone of Destiny.
Oh, my God.
Oh my God! So sorry, going on a tangent. That song came on at the bar last night, and I was pretty drunk by that point. I started belting it fucking out, and everyone was cheering on. It was adorable.
Oh, Bobby, that's awesome.
I'm never singing karaoke with you though.
You're mean.
I just can't. My anxiety. I'll shit my pants on stage and.
Well, we'll start out like I started out. We'll go to the Korean karaoke place because you had a room by yourself.
Oh,
you
that's
and your
fair.
friends.
Okay, there's a little
Yeah.
bit.
It was a lot of fun. Even Becky sang there.
Oh yeah, I did Evanescence.
Yeah, Scoob, Jay, everybody sang. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
I don't want to imagine Scoop singing. That sounds.
it was
It was
bad.
scary. They did Backstreet Boys. It was bad.
Oh, so
It was Backstreet Boys.
He's Lance.
But going back to the stone.
What? Hold on a second. I'm just saying that's NSYNC.
Whatever, they're all the same.
Oh, I didn't know what you were so
My
mortified
11-year-old white girl is coming out. Excuse you.
You're not white though.
Okay. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
brown.
Back to white people
Okay.
talking.
I want you to think about how we said the Stone of Destiny sings. Now, I know I've had Becky listen, and you've probably heard it. It's the ringing that's in the air sometimes that can be heard, and nobody knows what causes it. Some people believe it's a Stone of Destiny, signifying that the Antichrist had been born.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Because who would set the Stone of Destiny off the most?
Oh God.
Yeah.
I just thought it was the voices in my head, and I finally cracked.
Well, and it's like they talk about it on like different shows and
Yeah.
how you can just randomly hear and it's only in Europe that you hear a lot of
Mhm.
this too. Like
Yeah.
you hear like this ringing outside,
Yeah.
like this drone noise.
But now you can start hearing it in Canada. It's been in parts of the U.S. and it's like, it's nonstop. Going back to the Christian religion, is this one of the trumpets sounding the end of times? Like it's definitely
it all
interesting.
links back to each other.
So from Gorgias comes the Spear of Victory, which we've talked about. It was brought by light, and this is the Spear of Woden and the Spear of Destiny. Who's Woden?
Odin.
Yes.
This spear is the gift of Ing, and it never explained what that meant, but I know Ing is a Urson rule or whatever that word is.
I actually might be. I might be confused. Maybe it's. No. I did say that the Spear of Destiny was used to pierce and could kill any person immediately.
Mhm.
Okay, and it's the Sword of Destiny that was wielded by the king. Okay, I was
Right,
making sure I was
yeah,
getting this right in my
yeah.
head.
So Findius carried the Sword of Light, and Ogma gives his name Ogum Signs, and he was probably Og Yig. So Yggdrasil.
Yeah.
We have Yog, Sagarath. Like these are the ancient gods. And so I wanted to clarify that too. There's
Yeah.
a Sword of Destiny and a Spear of Destiny.
Yeah.
Each one, you can carry them together, or you can carry one. They're kind of interchangeable. But those are the four thingamajiggies. The four hallows of the Grail.
Nice. The thingamajiggies.
Yes. And what's a hallow?
Isn't it an artifact that's religious? It's a religious artifact?
Yeah,
It's in Harry Potter.
It is.
It is. It's the hallows. So, and when you put a hallows together, you create something just surreal, supernatural, way beyond our understanding. So the German Celtic divide here is merely a way to divide and conquer because the Fomorians who fought the Tuatha were also of Aryan descent.
Mm-hmm.
So Hitler believed that the Fomorians were the Jewish people.
Yeah.
And they fought and defeated these Tuatha. So what the Aryan nation to rise up had to come back and defeat the Fomorians, the Jewish people.
Yeah. Even though Fomorians are also linked to also just being mortal men
Right.
in general. That's
Right,
why
because-
the Tuatha are now underground or live
They were
in
both
fairy rings and stuff
godmen.
like that. Yeah.
And what really happened here was the Fisher King who ended up losing that battle, he lost to superior technology.
Yeah.
And the Fisher King has also been in numerous media, such as One Punch Man.
And he also in Bleach?
Yeah, Fisher. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, he was also in Bleach.
Because these are the king of kings.
Yeah.
These are the greatest kings.
Well, the Fisher King in One Punch Man is literally like a giant merman
Mhm.
thing, and it's like it's literal like.
Well, that kind of
Yeah.
links back to like the idea of Atlantis, like
Yeah.
you know the
Mhm.
Fisher King, like
Yeah.
he was the Lord of Atlantis. Oh my God, I did not mean to make that joke. I'm so sorry. Magic the Gathering.
Especially, since Atlantis was said to be here in Germany.
Yeah,
Ocean Man, come and take me by the hand.
lead me to the land.
Lead me to the land. So these are the main things they were looking for, because Hitler needed something that he could point to his people and the people around and say, I really am the Messiah. This is what I have for proof. Interesting to note, he was too afraid to go he didn't want to go to the Stone of Destiny.
Well, clearly he didn't find these things where he would have fucking won.
Yeah,
Well, we don't know
Yeah.
what he found.
He might have been close, but if he had found like one of these things, like he just wins.
And
Well,
it's
we
interesting-
thought he had found the Cauldron of Renewal. Turns out it was a copy, but it was such a good copy that back in like 2000 and I want to say 2009, they had reported they found where Hitler.
Hitler.
That's
the
cat.
best Hitler.
Yeah.
Cat Hitler.
That's where they had found the Cauldron of Renewal.
Yeah, but on the flip side, talking about the fact of the Stone of Destiny, he probably was scared to stand on it because if it did not sing,
wouldn't
he was a
sing.
false god.
Yep.
And it was reported too, and I couldn't find actual confirmation, but Winston Churchill made the song sing.
That makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's no way Hitler could have been a true king if Churchill had set
Yeah.
the stone off.
And FDR couldn't stand on the stone because he was in a wheelchair. He had
Right.
the polio.
That's
Mhm.
true.
I was making a cripple joke because I'm fucked up. For people that didn't get it, that's the joke I was making. You can't stand because he's in a fucking wheelchair or he was on crutches. I'm
That's
piece of
the
shit.
joke.jpg.
Yes. Also, I wanted to point out the Fomorians and the Tuatha were enormous.
Yeah.
People whose skin would glow blue, whose eyes were blue, and they were blonde. So the Vikings are said to have descended from the Tuatha.
Yeah.
So it's Avatar combined with Dragon Ball Z.
I think I'm starting to wonder if that's where the Avatar
It makes sense.
mythos didn't come from. I
Yeah.
had that same thought, like, is this Avatar? Because they were much larger. So a list of treasures that were actually found, well, not the entire list, but a huge mass listing was found in the attic of a love interest of one of the SS officers. So, and that's how we know how much shit they really took from all over
Mhm.
the world. It details how the Nazi treasures were to be taken to Lake Chemis, which is the Bavarian Sea, and dumped in there because he didn't want anybody getting their artifacts back. However, most of them were recovered,
Good.
and the German government gave France back most of its stuff, but not a lot of it.
Yeah.
There is so much stuff lost.
Yeah.
Like,
but
he
they
threw
had-
into a fucking sea. Yeah, the salt
I mean, and it
water.
covers like
And-
half of Europe, right?
Yeah.
Right, it's an enormous sea. Lake Shimsi originated from the primal Thetis Sea, which once covered half of Europe. And there's so much mythos with the Thetis Sea. This is the sea that life was said to have sprung up from. This was the sea.
Yeah.
This was the Garden of Eden Sea.
Mhm.
So you have people who say life originated in Iraq. Some people say Africa is the cradle of life, but we can trace our DNA roots back to the Thetis Sea, to stuff still found in the sea, like hidden under the bottom.
Under the sea.
Under the sea.
Under the Shimsi.
I like that better.
But there was this guy just walking along, and he decided to dive into the sea, which is an enormously deep sea, and he found this bowl that looked like the Cauldron of Renewal. Oh my God, is Hitler behind me? Both of y'all
No.
looked around.
And if he was, Hitler wasn't that big of a guy, and you could take him.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally could. Especially since I had that self-righteous, and I'm saying self-righteous in the actual way. I
Yeah.
had that righteous fury of all the innocent people that was killed.
You're a paladin.
Yes. Oh, I'd be so mad.
I'm a rogue.
So here's the thing about Hitler. After he, of course, didn't get the Grail Hollows, not all of them. He ended up, his guy told him that he wasn't, oh, by the way, you're not going to win this war. And the U.S. is really mad. These soldiers are acting outside of orders, and they're coming to get you.
Yeah.
So he committed suicide between April 30th and May 1st, early morning hours of April 30th. Now, he waited to St. Walpurga's Eve. It's one of the Christian feast days for St. Walpurga, an 8th century abbess in Francia. St. Walpurga was hailed by the Christians of Germany for battling pest, rabies, and whooping cough, as well as against witchcraft. It's interesting, Hitler associated with her. He felt Jews were a big pest. He was ridding the world of this
Yeah.
infestation, and he was against witchcraft. Okay, Mr. Occult guy.
Yeah.
Hypocrisy. It's the whole thing.
Like, you're performing rites, and I can assure you that no part of, well, I can't say that about Christianity because look at the Catholic rites.
Yeah.
Anybody looking in and be like, what are they doing?
They have very ritualistic
Mhm.
practices.
Yeah, I was about to say something, but then. So Christians prayed to God through the intercession of Saint Walpurga in order to protect themselves from witchcraft and evil. So he kills himself on this day. And it was very, what's that word?
Symbolic?
Symbolic. It is very symbolic for him that he and his chickie did that.
Eva Braun.
Yeah, that's her name. So here's what I want to point out about Hitler and the Third Reich. They relied heavily on supernatural thinking, and it was exacerbated by World War I defeat and prevalent social crises, which Hitler and the Nazi Party used as their platform. So, Germany was in a flux.
Yeah.
People were lost, and so he preyed upon that. Today, quasi-scientific, faith-based, conspiracy-driven reasoning has begun to correlate with political and ideological convictions that are restrictive of freedom of thought or behavior, influencing national elections, domestic social policies, and matters of global conflict. This phenomenon is evident globally in the neo-fascist alt-right groups across Europe and the United States, and the politicization of fundamentalist Islam and Christianity. Every culture has its own faith that can displace reason and reality. We have to recognize the parallel thinking in order to not repeat history. We mirror exactly the flux. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The flux.
Who said this podcast was not in depth?
Yeah, you know what, dude? Listen to this.
Listen, one person on YouTube.
Listen, you fuckhead.
We do
We're
appreciate.
great.
Oh Jesus, he's listening. Going, oh, you know what? I'm gonna agree with that. Get all my.
At least he made it through most of the episode.
Yeah,
True.
that's true. But yeah, when something is this quasi-scientific, faith-based, conspiracy-driven reasoning, that's actually called illiberal thinking.
Yeah.
I want to point out when people accuse me of being a liberal, oh, thank you. You're saying I have freedom of thought,
Yeah.
freedom of expression, and I think things through philosophically, politically, socially. Okay, I'm a liberal.
Yeah.
I could be a Republican and still be a liberal.
Yep.
So it's so interesting how people are literally just abandoning common sense and reason. Like if you look on these local Facebook pages, what is your point?
Yeah. Anything that doesn't have a well-grounded foundation, you're using as an excuse to further some stupid-ass illogical belief.
And people are following it. I can't count how many times I've seen the phrase, we should just get them all together and shoot them. Get them all together and put them behind bars. And whether this shit at the border started under Obama, Clinton, George W., it doesn't matter who started it. It has gotten worse, and it's been brought to the attention of the current president.
And
let the people go.
And it's not like we haven't had concentration camps in the past that were just related to Hitler. We had Japanese concentration camps in the United States. Canada had concentration camps.
And these are people who were citizens of the U.S. who were locked up. And it's not like this is something that's been made up. You have George Takei who talks about his experiences as a child being locked in a concentration camp when his family did nothing. They actually came here to get away from that imperialistic thinking.
The problem is everybody takes it once again to an us versus them argument instead of looking at the context of everything and thinking we need to be human. We need to be humanitarians toward other people.
We need to be human first.
Yeah, human first versus all of this us versus them because there's no different between us. If strip us all down, we are all skeleton and matter.
I saw this meme and it had a bunch of Labradors and they were different colors. It was like the black lab, the golden lab,
chocolate lab,
the chocolate lab, the white lab, and it's like there's no difference. These are all the same dog.
They're all puppers.
They're all sweet puppers.
puppers. I mean, I was gonna say we're literally all people, but there's Bobby, so
I'm something else. I'm something more.
We've established.
I will rise up and take over.
I don't hear that stone singing, Bobby.
It's singing on my ass.
I want to dance with somebody.
Oh, I saw a thought. It said, what if It's Raining Men and Let the Bodies Hit the Floor are the same story from two different perspectives?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I want that to be what we end this podcast on because we're right back to where we always start. Some dumbass shit that we've seen on some social media thing. It's hilarious.
Yes. So let's end it there, but also with the thought that people before politics.
Yes.
And when you hear somebody say the current administration or just the current state of society parallels Hitler's Germany, this is what we're talking about, where religion and a supernatural belief is put before humanitarian efforts, when in reality, Jesus told you love each other.
Don't forget to love each other.
Yeah. He said, love each other as I have loved you, and he died for you.
Yep.
So what are you doing? Locking people up because they wanted to come to a better life.
I don't want to plug anything because that was all so good.
But don't forget to love each other. Critical Role has a fantastic shirt that says that.
Don't forget to love each other.
And don't forget
to check us out on Facebook at the Free Rotation Podcast.
And Spotify.
And Twitch. You can check us at the Free Rotation. We're also on YouTube at the Free Rotation. You can also check us out on Twitter at the Free Rotation. We're on Instagram at the Free Rotation Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher. We're not on SoundCloud. Google Play, Apple Podcasts, check us out there. We are affiliates of Weeby Geeks. Check out all the other great podcasts. We'll be getting back to some geeky topics next week, so check those out.
Oh, yes. And what is that geeky topic? Because this is very interesting.
Baby.
Oh, so
Speaking of fairies,
besides me, no, I'm straight. But anyway, maybe we don't know yet. Anyway, the new Magic set, Throne of Eldraine, is a fairy tale themed set. So we'll be discussing fairy tales, and I'll be discussing the new mechanics from the set and my top 5 new cards from it.
Ooh, I'm very excited to discuss like the relationship between like fairy tales and stuff like that. But I'm very excited, and also you can also check out our backlog at TheFreeRotation.com. Hey, thanks guys for listening.
I gotta pee.
And any feedback is good feedback, so feel free to
Except
leave.
when you don't agree with us, then fuck you.
No, feel free to leave any comment you'd like, and we will feel free to respond.
Fuck you.
Jesus Christ.
Or you find something that kind of speaks to you on a personal level, and there's nobody else.
Hang on, I'm getting a call from Spam Risk.
Oh, okay.
I think from Cumming, Georgia.
Ooh.
Cumming.
So I love tangent. You can edit this out. I love that we have a city called Cumming, and we have butts counting.
Yeah,
That's true. That's our outro, actually.
Yes.
Geography.
Yes.
Okay.